Okay, so a quick little agenda for tonight. First and foremost, going to give you a quick little story to motivate you and get you going. Number two, how to buy apartments, and ideally, how would you do it in the next 90 days with, let's say, $18,000 to $30,000 out of pocket and control a 10 to 30 unit apartment building? How would you do that? We're going to show you that. And then number three is your opportunities now. Are you going to take advantage of it? Your opportunities now, are you going to take advantage of it? Are you going to get to the edge of the cliff and go, whoop, or are you going to jump? That's going to be your decision tonight. So very, very powerful. So cool little quote for you. Same ones. If you've seen this before, has anybody seen these before? Number one, the more hands you shake, the more money you make. The more hands you shake, the more money you make. Have you heard that quote before? Chime in, yes or no. Number two, your income is equal to the problems that you solve. I want you to think about that quote for a minute. Your income is equal to the problems that you solve. So think about your current job or career. Okay? If you're solving pretty big problems for people in society, you make big money. If you solve little problems for people in society, you make little money. Okay? So if you're solving $1,000 problems, you make thousands of dollars. You make $100,000 plus six figures, hundreds of thousands, because you're solving $100,000 problems. If you go solve $1 million problems, you make millions of dollars. It's literally equivalent to the problems that you solve. So if you want to make a lot of money, become a professional problem solver and go out there and solve great problems for people in society, and you'll make unlimited money. Okay? If you solve little problems, you make little money. And the more hands you shake, the more money you make. Right? We are still in a people world. We are social human beings. We like to connect. We like to share. We like to be close to people. And people do business with who they like and they trust. It's still a handshake in business. So the more hands you shake, the more money you make. But remember these quotes, because this is critical whether you're doing real estate investing, any type of investing. These remain true across the board. 1,000%. Love it. But I like it. No, you have not heard it, but you like it. Good. I'm glad you like it. Let's move on. Does anybody remember 2008? That was a fun period. 2008 to 2010. 2008 to 2010. Toughest kind of 24 months. I'm sure you've heard the saying, in moments of suffering, greatness is born. In moments of suffering, greatness is born. So kind of fast forwarding a little bit of my story. If you don't know who I am or what I do, or you just kind of came in online and you're like, who is this guy? Totally fine. That's why we're here to kind of discuss it and share with you so you can kind of get a little background as to what I'm talking about for you. I'll forget about kind of 2002 through 2007. So 2007, 2008, at that time, I'd already kind of gone out and I was making it on my own as a title insurance rep in the real estate industry coming out of college. Did that, was great. And then went back to grad school and then decided, hey, it was time to go work for family. But I didn't want to do that when I got out of college. I wanted to kind of go make it on my own and kind of show that I could do it on my own. Okay? That was critical. Then fast forward to 2008, 2010, you had the financial collapse. You had the financial collapse. And that was critical because it changes a lot of people's lives, right? It changed a lot of people's lives in here. Maybe you were drastically affected by it. Job, house lost. Maybe you took advantage of the situation. But why that was so powerful for me was this. I watched my entire family, my dad, lose everything, right? He built, pretty good empire for himself. I grew up in the real estate industry a bit, learned from him and my grandmother, how to build, construct, develop, construction, and the whole nine yards. And got into the kind of the multifamily space, whether that's condos or even apartment production. Watched my dad build it through 3 different cycles. The 4th cycle being the 2008 to 2009 financial crisis. And he built it too violent. As we all know, boom. Massive, massive collapse across the board. I'll never forget it. It was April 8th, 2008 at 8:35 in the morning. A lot of eights. A lot of eights. He walks into my office, closes the door. He sits down at my desk. And he says, the bank's just called and they're shutting all the construction loans down. And I remember like pausing for a minute and then going like, well, they can't do that. And he's like, yeah, I told them that too. But then they said, sue us. Like, sue us. It doesn't matter because everybody's going down. So they're going to go ahead and they're going to go into their corner, protect themselves. You go into your corner, protect yourself. Best of luck. Right? You can imagine what can happen. So you watch the entire thing. There were stories written about it, et cetera. It was my dad, young Justin there. But story behind that is, in moments of suffering, greatness is born. Because if it weren't for that, I wouldn't have been able to learn the things that I've learned and to understand, at least for me, moving forward past this, the power of cash flow and not over leveraging. Okay, the power of cash flow and not over leveraging. So I knew that when I went out and I wanted to do this for myself, it was going to be based on steady Eddie cash flow, apartment type investments. I was not going to get into the big build and sell game, right? Great highs, you can make a ton of money, but a market cycle shift, party's over. So I don't like that. I like steady Eddie, right? I like to sleep at night. Do you guys like to sleep at night? I like to sleep at night. So that was that, okay? So what happened in there? I heard somebody say they started acquiring properties. I love that. How many properties did you acquire, by the way, during that time? Rental properties, I didn't lose, but you observed, okay? And that's Jana, love that. 2, beautiful, Tyrone. So in this moment, I knew we had to buy property, but I didn't have any capital. I literally had, I think, $11,000 to my name, if I remember it right. Like I was getting hammered. I was in real estate. Just didn't have a lot of money. I was getting clobbered. But I knew we had to buy property. I just didn't have the capital. I couldn't sign on loans, but I knew we had to buy it. So I went to a friend of mine, because remember this, you either bring the sweat equity or you bring the check equity, right? The sweat equity or the check equity. You either bring the physical capital to the party or you bring the knowledge and the ability to execute. If you can bring both, you're like a unicorn. It's amazing and good for you. But most people bring one or the other. So at that time, I didn't have the cash. I didn't have the check equity, but I did have the ability to execute. I could go find deals. I could analyze them. I could help raise capital, put things together, close escrow on them. I could manage the crap out of them. I could do all of that. So I was extremely valuable because of my abilities for somebody with money. So I went to a friend of mine, Christopher Poley, at that time. And I said, hey, Chris, dude, we need to buy property, right? I said, here's the deal. If you can provide the initial down payment and sign on the initial loans, I'll go find them. I'll put them together. I'll run everything. I'll run the companies. I will do everything. I'll roll and commit. I will do everything, right? You just collect checks. We'll collect checks together. Split it 50-50, right? So I did the sweat. I went out and I hustled, made it happen. Our first deal, literally, in 2010 was a $100,000 condo in Murrieta, California. We put $25,000 down, $75,000 loan, $100,000 condo. From that point, from 2010, 2018, we went into duplexes, quads, a few other properties, smaller stuff. We'd acquired about 20 units and about $3.5 million of assets. We thought we'd made it. We thought we'd made it. We're like, man, we have all this stuff. It's all our own money. Like, we're going to retire. Yippee, right? That's what we thought. And then we started to realize, gosh, we're not where we want to be. Like, this is good. Don't get me wrong. But what we want is much more. But you can't get there all with your own money. You can't. You have to get there with utilizing your money in conjunction with other people's money, collaborating together, right? They call it OPM, other people's money. But I don't look at it as other people's money. I look at it as people coming together because you're putting in some, they're putting in some, you're collaborating, and boom. That's how you scale. That's how people grow. That's how some of the greatest businesses in the world grow. That's how they're out there doing it, okay? Does that make sense so far? But this is how, I'm going to show you how we went from here to here. So if you're looking at yourself and you're saying, I don't have any multifamily, I have maybe a couple rentals and I want to do this, right? I want to do this. I just don't know how to go, okay? How would I do it? So this is how you're going to do it. In 2018, we had 20 units and about $3.5 million of assets. We were doing pretty good. Then I said, what we want is much more, but we can't do it alone. We're running out of our own money. We have to learn how to collaborate with other people and quote unquote syndicate. Has anybody heard the term syndication before? Syndicating apartments, syndicating investments. Throw your, okay. More chats in there. Keep coming with it. Syndicating apartments. You hear that's a sexy term for sharing money and buying property. That's all it means, okay? Technically and legally, anytime you collaborate and raise money from other people and bring people together, you are legally syndicating, technically. That's if you talk to an attorney. Most of the time, people don't use that term or put in place the legal document mumbo jumbo until they're raising money from people they don't know that well. That's typically when that goes. So love that. So here you go. So here we are, 20 units, 3.5 million, and we get to today, 2024, now 2025, we have about 685 units and about $180 million in assets. Now, why is this important? Over here, we had 100% of 3.5 million, okay? 100% of 3.5 million. You're like, okay, that's cool. Now, let me show you the power of scale. Now, because we did and we leveraged it correctly, we have 40% of 180 million. Do the math. We didn't have to put in any more money. We just took the capital from here and moved it to here. But the difference was we were scaling with other people, right? Helping investors make money, helping everybody else make money. We get to make money alongside. It's pari passu party. And that's how you do it. That's OPM. That's other people's money. So that way that allows you, in this case, to come in with $10, $15, $30, $40,000 out of pocket and control a 10 to 30, 50 unit apartment building. And then other people bring in money alongside you and away you go. And I'm going to show you exactly how it works tonight. But that's the power of it, okay? So does anybody know what a BHAG is? Do you know what BHAG stands for? It stands for Big, Hairy, Audacious Goal. Big, hairy, audacious goal. So the BHAG is 10,000 units and $1 billion of assets, okay? But you don't, once again, you don't do that alone. You can't, right? I mean, you take some of the best businesses in the world. Let's take the richest man on planet Earth, Mr. Elon Musk. Okay, how much of Tesla do you think he owns? Does anybody know? He owns less than 10% of Tesla. Okay, Jeff Bezos, I think second richest man in the world. Do you have any idea how much of Amazon he owns today? I think it's less than 8%. So what's the point behind that? OPM. He and everybody else, anybody that runs businesses, scales things, grows, understands that, listen, if you can help people make money, right? Investors make money, and they like you and they trust you and they believe in the deal. You're just riding along with everybody else and you're collectively putting in money, they're putting in money, everybody's rocking and rolling together. That's how you scale and grow. All the best business people know that. All the best investors know that. And that's how you get here. You don't get it alone. So multifamily schooled. When I said that, you don't do it alone. So about 2 years ago, I had people approaching me as they were kind of seeing what I was doing, buying all these units around the country and traveling and stuff. And they said, hey, like, Justin, can you teach this stuff? And initially I'd said no. But then we put some kind of courses that people could take at their own pace online, and people loved them. But then people came in a little closer and they said, hey, do you have like a mentorship community, mentorship programs and all that stuff? I said, no, I don't really have the time for it. But then I sat down with our team and kind of thought about it. We said, how can we make this a win-win? Like truly, because what I don't want to do is just be some guru dude online teaching something that I don't do myself. There's plenty of those. You all see them, okay? What I do want to do, because what we're trying to do is this, okay? Keep in mind, your goal is 100 units, 400 units, 300 units, 50 units, whatever it is. Mine's 10,000. You don't do it alone. So how does it happen? You do it through partnerships, collaboration, and community. So what if we could create a community of well-trained investors around the country who are having success getting into their first 10 to 30 unit building, maybe a second one that's 30 or 40, maybe a third that's a 50 plus. And then they're like, holy crap, this is amazing. I want to go to an 80 plus unit or 100 plus unit building. Well, you're probably not going to be doing that alone. So then what's going to happen, like it's happening right now, is you'll bring a deal to the community and then we can all partner on it. I mean, I'm looking at a deal right now with one of our mentees in the program, a 56 unit just outside of Kansas City, Missouri. Killer deal. Pretty cool deal that we may partner on because they can't do it alone. They need help and sponsorship. So that's how you do it. So our portfolio grows, their portfolio grows, everybody wins. That is what I'm talking about, okay? That's a win-win. That's a win-win. This is part of the community, all these folks. So it's pretty cool because you get a lot of fulfillment out of it. And then when you know it's a win-win, That's where everybody grows together. Okay. So mindset and identity. Most people, at least that I speak to, their biggest fear is losing money. Would you agree with that? Would you agree with that? Your biggest fear, you know you want to do it. You have the motivation to do it, but you're scared to death of losing money. Like, or making the wrong choice or big mistakes. And you don't know where to start. And it seems complicated. So you don't even take the first initial step. And the reason why this is important is because you want to do multifamily. Why? You want to do real estate investing. Why? Because everybody here is like, I want my time back, right? I want financial freedom. I want more time with my kids and my family. I want to get out of the rat race, the 9 to 5. You all said it online. You said, I want to do this with this, this, and this. I want to get out of that. I want to stop working for the man. I want to work for myself and, you know, make money while I'm sleeping and all these other things that you talk about. Those are the bigger purposes, why you're actually doing it. Now, multifamily and other real estate investing is simply a tool, a vehicle to get there. So that's really the big picture behind it. But the identity audit's critical. So let me show you what I mean by that. The 7 mountains that move a nation and inspire people. The 7 mountains that move a nation and inspire people. So I'm going to throw this up. This is a poll. I want you to pick 3 or 4, and I'm going to show you how this works. I want you to think about what is most passionate to you. And when you see family up here, that also means philanthropy. Okay, not just your personal family, but philanthropy, giving back. Okay, but I'm very curious. Name 3 or 4, maybe think about them in order, and I'm going to show you how I did mine, and let's see if it resonates with you. And then you can kind of pick your own, and this is how you're going to do it for yourself. And the reason why I'm saying this is because motivation's great, and money's a great motivator. It's a great motivator, but it's only simply going to get you going, right? It's going to get you going, but it's not going to keep you going. It's not going to keep you from quitting. When things get hard and you start to face resistance, money's not going to motivate you. But I guarantee you, letting your family down, that'll motivate you. Telling your family you're going to do something, your kids something, and then you don't show up and don't perform. Maybe it's your spouse. Maybe it's your friends. Maybe you're watching all your other friends have all the success, and you're like, damn, I'm smarter than them. I'm better than them. I can do this. I can't. How in the world are they pulling that off? How are they pulling that off and not me? I can do that. I can tell you the only difference between them and you is that they're not indecisive. They're taking action. They're going out there and making things happen. They're jumping off the cliff and allowing the how to show up. They're getting over the fear. It's the only difference. Because you're right. You probably are smarter than them. You probably are more capable. You probably can execute better. But if you sit in the corner and don't go, you're just going to live in fear till you're 80 and you're sitting on your deathbed having a conversation with your 40-year-old self, telling that person, I'm sorry, I didn't go for it. I mean, that's it. I mean, that's it. You got one shot at this baby. Where are you going to go? But the reason I'm touching on this stuff is so important because you have to realize, like, for you to like get excited in your belly and to get your ass out of bed every day when you're not really motivated, but this is going to keep you disciplined. So let me show you how this works. Okay. You see these 7. Let me show you how it applies to my life and like why I get like excited every day, even though like sometimes I don't want to get up and do things, right? We all have these moments, right? We're not all Energizer bunnies running around everywhere. So you have to like keep yourself disciplined. So number 1 is business. You have to have a successful business. That's why everybody's chiming in here, because that gives you the active or the passive income. To then take the money from the business and then move it into the other areas that you're super passionate about. So if it's philanthropy, family, and giving back, maybe it's your church, right? Maybe it's educating other people. Maybe it's government. Maybe you love politics. I don't know. Maybe it's sports and culture, the other ones, right? But for me, it's business. And then allowing the media, right? Helping raise profile to raise awareness for things in the media side of it, right? We take this, we go into here for the media, raise awareness. Then number 3, for me, is the education side. Why do you think we're here tonight? Helping educate, create a community of well-trained investors who are doing this around the country, having success and collaborating. The education is powerful for me, but without the business, without the media, this doesn't work. And then you slide over here to the most important piece of the puzzle, and that is family for me. But it's not just my personal family and my kids and everybody. It's also the giving back, right? We give to Tunnels to Towers organization. I don't know if you know what that one is, but it's a great organization that pays off mortgages for spouses left behind from the husbands, typically, that die in the line of duty, either firefighters, police officers, or soldiers. And so the moms left behind with these kids, they're not the breadwinner. Well, this company comes in, this organization comes in, pays off the mortgage, gives them a free and clear house for the rest of their life. It's incredible. And then we have the SEAL Future Foundation we're really big on that helps transition Navy SEALs, team guys, right, from team life into civilian life and gives them opportunities, both health and wellness, but also from getting out there, getting jobs and stuff. So incredible organization. But you can see like the power of it. And like this motivates me. So like with Tunnels to Towers, my goal with that is to pay off 100,000 mortgages. But you think I'm doing that with no money, right? I can't get to that goal without the business, without the media, without the education to get to that. It all links. So think about that for yourself, because that is what's going to get you past the days you don't want to do it, past the resistance, past the point of quitting. Because money's a great motivator, but most people make decisions in their life on pain, not pleasure. Pain, not pleasure. Think about all the things you've actually truly made movements, like strong movements in your life. It's usually based on you're trying to avoid pain, right? Or it's pain's already happening and you need to get the hell out. And then you get to hang out with cool people like this. Does anybody know who these folks are at all? Some people do, some people don't. Robert Martinez, great guy, owns about 5,000 doors in the Texas area and around the country. Really cool multifamily guy. Brandon Turner, initial founder of Bigger Pockets. Really cool guy, so approachable if you ever get a chance to meet him. Ryan Pineda, Mr. Uncle G, Mr. Grant Cardone, and a few other friends. But the point being is not to name drop with this. It's just to show that, listen, when you get out in the media world a little bit, you get a great chance to meet some great people, and network, right? Remember, the more hands you shake, the more money you make. So here we go. Now to the actual detail side of this. Yeah, it is sometimes hard, Trey. So, I mean, what I would honestly do for yourself, Trey, on that identity audit is sit in it for a while. I mean, I got to be honest with you. The first time I did it a couple of years ago, I was up in a hotel room after the conference, and I was literally crying, like going through this, like, oh my gosh, like, okay, like I'm sitting in it. Because then you also have these moments like, am I underachieving or overachieving my possibilities? Am I underachieving or overachieving my potential? Right? And I had like an oh crap moment in the mirror going, holy crap, I'm way underachieving. I'm way underachieving my potential. And that's hard to have that. And you're like, ugh. So I don't care whether you're buying a 2-unit duplex or you're buying a 100-unit awesome big ass apartment complex. Doesn't matter. It's going to follow the exact same pattern. I call it the Fast Five. I dislocated my shoulder like a few months ago, so I'm just now starting to get it back. So bear with me. This is called I call it the Fast Five, right? My Fast Five method, and how do you analyze, finance, close, and manage deals. But it's going to follow this exact same pattern. So for the purpose of tonight, since all of you here are kind of focused in this arena, find, analyze, and finance. We won't get into this just for the purposes of time. Let's talk about the big three. So creating wealth in real estate. Simply put, this is how it works. You take any asset, whether it's a house, condo, commercial asset, doesn't matter. You borrow against it, good debt, right? That could be with a loan from a bank, as well as the equity from investors, combination of them. That makes up this OPM, other people's money. That property cash flows, meaning the property, because of the rents that you're getting, because of the income you're getting, it's going to pay all the expenses, plus all of the debt service on the loans. It's going to pay everything and get you free cash flow. Now it's going to appreciate in value. At some point, you're going to refinance. Did you know that when you do a cash out, what's called a refinance on a property, and I'm going to show you how this works. Let's say the property is $1 million. You go and improve it and you buy it and you make it great. Now the property's worth $3 million. You refinance that property, you can pull cash out. Did you know that that cash out is tax-free money? Tax-free money, baby. And why is that? I'm not going to get into great detail here tonight, but the IRS loves people that move money. Okay, they love people that move money. They give people that move a lot of money the best tax benefits, the most write-offs. If you don't move a lot of money, you get the least amount of write-offs. Hence the reason if you're a W-2 employee working for the man, you have very limited write-offs. You don't move enough money. If you move money and you actually are a business owner or an investor or a creator, the IRS loves you. Because of that, they give you a lot of write-offs. They want you to grow. This is how the system's designed, hence capitalism, okay? That's how the system's designed. So people said, why multifamily, right? Number one, as I mentioned earlier, you get paid 5 to 8 different times while you own the building. If you're flipping, wholesaling, other rentals, other things you do, you're paid maybe 1 to 2 times. Multifamily 5 to 8 times. I'm going to break these down here in a minute. Economies of scale. Why would you own 10 single-family rental properties in a neighborhood where you have 10 different roofs, 10 different tenants, right? In terms of one moves out. Like, think about it. If you own a single-family rental, if that tenant moves out of that property, you go from 100% occupied to 0 overnight. Overnight. And then you have a yard, you have other things. I mean, there's so many things that you have 10 different insurance policies, 10 different mortgages, 10 different this, 10 different that, where you could have one building with 10 units in it. And that one tenant moves out of that 10-unit building, you go from 100% occupied to 90%. Economies of scale in repairs and maintenance, costs, everything, right? Economies of scale. It's much easier to finance. Guys, if the deal makes sense, the bank will throw the money out the front window of their bank to give it to you. Why? Because commercial real estate, okay? Commercial real estate, it's like its own operating business. That's how the banks look at it. When you buy anything that's residential, meaning a single family home up to a 4-unit property, it's technically a residential building. So there's only so many financing programs for it. And the banks look at you personally and your personal financials to qualify for that loan. When you buy a multifamily building, the bank's looking first at the property, the ability for the property to pay the mortgage, not you. You are secondary in the process. So your financials are not really that important, somewhat, but not that much, okay? It's all about the property. It's all about the property. Much easier to finance. It's easier to get $1 million loan on a multifamily building than it is to get a $300,000 house loan on a house. Generational wealth, everybody, we talk about this term, but what does this mean? Let me give you a perfect example of what this means. One of our mentees, older gentleman, and he now has his first 2 deals, about 60 units under his portfolio currently. Older guy. He has a son that's kind of teamed up with him in the community. His whole thing is about, okay, I'm kind of ending towards the end of my life. I want to just be able to pass this on. Like in their mind, that's generational wealth, which I think everybody relates with, but for them, that's what it is. Because if you don't have something to do that, then the businesses die or properties die or things go away, and then kids and people that are here don't get anything from it. They don't get to build beyond that. So for generational wealth, that's why it's so powerful. So step number 1 is finding deals. How do you find good multifamily deals? Do you go to brokers or sellers? So here's the answer to this question. If you're newer, like everybody is in here, newer, and you've never done it before, and you have limited time, because most people in here probably have a 9-to-5 career, 9-to-5 job, whatever it is. You have things that are paying the bills currently, and now you're trying to get into this. So in your mind, would you go to brokers directly or sellers directly to get started? So here's how it works. If you're newer, you're going to go direct to the brokers. The reason for this is because you can go direct to sellers. Both of these work. But direct to seller approach, you're going to need a lot more capital, a lot more time, which you don't have when you're getting started, right? You have to be efficient with your time to get into this till you get to a point where you have enough stuff coming from multifamily to overtake the income you have from your current situation. And then once that happens, then you have a decision to make. Do you stay where you're at? Do you do both? Do you leave and go one to the other? But you have a decision. That's a cool decision to have. But until you get to that point, the direct to broker approach is going to be your most efficient use of time, because they're the ones out there calling people like me every day saying, hey, you want to sell something? You want to do something? You want to do? For every phone call you're making, they're making 5. For every letter you're sending out, they're sending 10. For every text message, 40. It's like they'll 10x you every day of the week and twice on Sundays. So they have access to what's called on-market and off-market opportunities. Does anybody know the websites like LoopNet, Crexy.com, CoStar, any of those 3 websites that I'm naming off? Okay. Yes. So just know this. If you go online to see any of the properties on the websites, all of those properties, that only represents about 40% of the market. Okay? 40% of the actual inventory. That's what the on market is. That's the website. The off market is where the party's at. At least 60%, and it may be more. You never see the light of day. The only reason that property is on that website is because it didn't sell here. So they moved it to here. So that means it's overpriced. Like 99.9999999% of the time. It's overpriced. That's okay. Properties still sell, but just realize the reason it's on the website is because it didn't sell here first. Here's the process how the brokerage works. Broker makes the phone calls, they get a listing under contract. Just happened with us, okay? Just happened with us. So the broker puts it in, puts the nice packages together, gets it all pre-marketed, ready to go. He'll blast it out to their database of investors that they work with a lot. Okay, it could be a database of 50 people or less. They're going to pre-market that property for a period of time. Vast majority of the time, that property sells right here. Never makes it there. So the only reason it's moving on is once it hasn't sold here. So the broker moves it there and they say, we're going on market. And we'll see who we can find on market. That's what that means. So the key is, great. You're like, yeah, Justin, I already know that. You're telling me something I already know. Well, how do you actually get access to those? Okay. Remember I said the more hands you shake, the more money you make? So the key is, how do you get access to the broker's pre-market deals, as I call them? Okay. Pre-market deal. It's not a FSBO. The broker has the listing. They just have not put it on the open websites yet. So the important part about that is, so I mean, how do you make the connection? So let me give you a perfect case study as to how this would go down. When we were in California, we had to go out of state because California wasn't that great to invest in. So we started looking in other states, Nevada, Arizona, the Midwest, Texas, Oklahoma, Missouri, everywhere in the Midwest. We settled on Missouri, and I liked Kansas City. Obviously, I had nothing really set up out there, any of that stuff. I had a broker friend I knew locally there a little bit, but here's how it went down. I went on to Crexy.com. This is literally in 2018. Went on to Crexy.com, looked at the areas, found 3 properties that I liked. All in, by the way, the 10 to 30 unit space. There's a reason why we do that, because it's bite-sizable. You're still dealing with mom and pop brokers. You're still dealing with mom and pop sellers. Lenders will work with you when you're a newbie because they realize that this space deals with more novices. Okay, so they're not expecting you to have some massive resume in history of doing this. Okay, they just want to make sure that you have some stuff in line, but they'll deal with you in this space. So I went online, I found these properties, 3 properties, 3 different brokers representing them, made some phone calls, made some connections, let them know I was going to be coming out there in 2 weeks and I wanted to see the properties and tour. I wanted to meet them, tour the properties, and do that kind of song and dance. Why? The more hands you shake, the more money you make. Because I knew if I could get belly to belly with them, tour the properties, make a little bit of a connection, then I'm going to go to them and say, listen, I understand, right? On market, look, John, Mr. Broker, this deal doesn't really make sense that well, but we're going to buy. We're buying in Kansas City. So can I get access? Do you have your email list I can talk about? Can we get on that? Can I look for some pre-market opportunities? Maybe you have some deals that you're looking at right now that I can take a peek at before they go live on the market. That's all it is. And then you start building rapport. Then all of a sudden, the deal flow starts to come. And that's how it happened, literally, because then within about a month after that, boom, our first deal happens. A pre-market deal. But that's how you find good deals. The other way is direct to seller. But if you have thousands of dollars to spend to go with a massive marketing campaign to go direct to sellers, by all means, go for it. It's just not the most efficient use of your time when you're newer. When I know you have limited time, because you have a job and a career that's paying the bills right now, and you're trying to move into this category, okay? That's how you're going to do it, direct to the broker approach, and focusing here. So analyzing deals, that's step number 2. Step number 1, right, is finding the deals. So let's presume we found a deal. How do we analyze it? How do we know if it's a good deal? How do we do that pretty quickly? So that way we could kind of move forward or not. So rule number one is NOI, net operating income, net operating income. And this is just kind of a food for thumb and the power of it. For every $1,000 that you can increase this net operating income, you're adding over $220,000 to the value of that building. And I can show you the math on that. We're not going to get into that. Just know that the power of NOI. For every $1,000 I can increase the income on the net profit for that building, I'm increasing the total value over $220,000 on average. Okay? So analyzing the deals. Let me go back here and make sure I didn't leave something out there because I think I had the actual baseline for it. 1 second. Yeah, I did. I want to show you guys this. So this is like a basic profit and loss statement. Okay? Yeah, Lamont, we already talked about going straight to the owners. If you want to try it, go for it. If you have about $50,000 in cash available to you to go market to the owners in about a year, time spent to even get an owner to raise their hand. You see, owners, they don't raise their hand like, yeah, I'm selling today. It's like, yeah, I'm thinking about it. And you're going to have to follow up with them for about a year or two before they're going to actually make it happen, right? That's why it's a not good use of your time, at least in the beginning, So this is a basic profit and loss statement for how you analyze deals. Now, we have deal analyzers. We give you very plug and play, plug in numbers that pops out all this stuff. You don't have to learn all the nuance. You just need to understand the fundamentals. You're going to take the gross income from the building, gross rents. Then you're going to take out this thing called economic loss. Economic loss includes these 4 things: physical vacancy, loss to lease. Loss to lease is if the market rent's $10 and I'm getting $9, I have a $1 loss to lease between market rent and actual rent. Bad debt. Some people don't pay their rent. Concessions. Sometimes I need to pay people to move in. That accounts for the economic loss. Then you add in other income. These could be pet rent, other kinds, admin fees, other types of income, and you get to a subcategory number there. Then you're going to take out your expenses on the building. This is property taxes, insurance, repairs and maintenance, property management fees, all that stuff, expenses. Then you get to that beautiful number that we were talking about up here, net operating income. Basically like your gross profit number. And that number is very important. Okay, this is very, very, very important because this number determines the value of your building. The value of your building. Then you'll pay off your mortgage, right, your debt service, and get to this free cash flow number. And that is the formula. Once again, I don't care if it's a 2-unit building or a 100-unit building. That anytime you look at these Excel templates, deal analyzers, anything you look at, that's all it's doing. It's all it's doing. That's great, man. Yeah, you have that capital available to you. Do you want to run the show or do you want to passively invest? Like, do you want to be a limited partner and just passively invest, or do you want to run the show and go big kahuna? So what makes a good deal? People ask me all the time, like, what metrics, right? What metrics, Justin, should I look for on my deal analyzers to determine really quickly whether this deal makes financial sense for me and for my investors? Here it is. These 3 metrics. There's a lot of other metrics in the world, right? But these 3, if these are in alignment, the deal makes sense. You should look at it further. If these are not in alignment, no. You just keep moving. Back of the napkin. Rock and roll, baby. IRR stands for internal rate of return. Internal rate of return. It's like your annual rate of return. Think about this. If I was making between 14 to 20+% per year on my money, and my investors were too, would that sound like a pretty good return on my money in comparison to stocks or bonds or CDs? Crypto, you can do up and down. Just depends, right? So if I'm making 14 to 20+% per year on my money, that's pretty good. Cash on cash. So the difference between these two is the IRR takes into account appreciation of the property. Cash on cash means, like, if I give you 100 grand, I'm getting, right, $10,000, 10% on that literal cash every year. Cash on cash. And then equity multiple. If I give you 100 grand, I'm getting $180,000 back. If this were 2x, if I give you 100 grand, I'm getting 200 grand back. 2x on my money, equity multiple. So if these things are in alignment and your deal analyzers tell you yes, boom, you keep going. If the deal analyzer says no, you stop and you move on. It's literally that simple, right? There's a lot of obviously granular in that, but we're not going to get into that tonight, okay? So stick with me. Yeah, Trey, I can't get into that crazy detail tonight on that. That's definitely more for like detailed, mentee mentorship stuff. But yeah, I can get into that in great detail. It just wouldn't be right now. But yeah, great question. Because Trey had asked, if you're increasing $1,000 a month, right? That's 12,000 a year. It's 12,000 a year, an increase in your net operating income. Take that 12,000. You can do it on your math calculator on your phone right now. Divide that by a 5.5% cap rate, because that's probably what generalized average market would be. 5.5% cap rate, and you show me what that number pops up on your phone, because that's how you're increasing the value. You remember how I said, how do you make money? And I said there's 5 to 8 different ways you make money in multifamily. That's why you do this. Listen, I love money. I like to make it, right? You can make very good money if you run these deals, put them together, because you're helping investors make money. You're putting in some of your money. They're putting in some of their money. Everybody's growing and making money together. That's why this is beautiful, but you're running the show. So if you're going to put in all this time and energy to do this, you should probably be paid handsomely if you do well. Would you agree with that? Because remember what I said earlier. Your income is directly related to the problems that you solve. So let me ask you this question. If you're going to become now real estate syndicator, multifamily syndicator, multifamily person, investor person doing this, do you think you're solving $1,000 problems, $100,000 problems, or $1 million problems? Curious in your mind. Put it in the chat. Do you think you're solving $100,000 problems or $1 million problems if you're doing multifamily? That's right. So do you think you should be paid millions? Remember, it's directly related to the problems that you solve. I am solving $1 million problems for investors, for people. I'm helping ourselves, themselves, everybody, solving big, 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 big problems. Therefore, you get to make big, 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 big money. Okay? That's why it's beautiful. So, way number one is what's called an acquisition fee. You're going to work your ass off putting this deal together for you and your investors. You get paid an acquisition fee of 2 to 3% of the purchase price right at the close of escrow. It's all built into the cost. I'll show you in a minute. Asset management fee. This is on top of the property. So property manager makes their property management fee. You are the asset manager managing the managers, making sure the managers, the property managers, are doing their damn jobs. That's why you get paid this fee of 1 to 2% on the revenue from the project to ensure that the management company is not slacking off. Okay? That's why that's paid monthly. Then you get 30, 40% of the cash flows, 30 to 40% of the profits, 30, 40% of the tax benefits and write-offs. If you're going to be doing renovations and construction management, you can get paid, the construction management paid monthly 5 to 8% of the actual costs. Then if you go to sell the thing down the road, you can also get, as part of that deal, what's called a disposition fee for selling the deal down the road, typically up to 2% of the sales price down the road on top of the brokers for putting the deal together. You can also get finder's fees for these deals. I mean, there's probably 10 ways, 10 different ways. But here's the 5 to 8. Point being behind it is there's a lot of ways to make money in multifamily. So that's why people do it. That's why they take the time and the energy to do this. So let me ask you this question. Based on what you see so far, do you believe that you could actually do this? And don't tell yourself no, because I was a moron when I started this. Trust me. Yes, I had some background, but I did not know all this nuance. I had to learn it. I had to get mentored. I had to understand this stuff. But by investing that time, because I invested the time, now it's very valuable. Okay. Yeah, estimating large construction jobs. I mean, if you do construction stuff, I mean, you can get construction management fees, all part of it. It's all built in. But I love that everybody's like confident. You should be. You should be. Okay. But that's the beautiful ways of how you get paid doing this. So the third one is raising money, and stick in there with me. We're at 7 o'clock. Give me about 15 more minutes of your time. Okay. 15 more minutes of your time. So raising money. There's only 3 things you need to raise money. 3 things, and 3 things only. Now, there's nuance to this. Obviously, you need to understand it. There's more detailed and weeds in it, sure. But you need a deal that makes financial sense. A lot of people go out and they try and say, I need to raise the money first. Listen, if I came to all the people on here tonight and I said, will you give me $25,000 to invest in a multifamily apartment building? And you'd probably look at me and say, well, maybe if like you had a deal, like if you had a deal that made sense, yeah, like maybe, yeah, sure. So you see how the deal will attract the money. A good deal that makes financial sense, the money will chase it. Always has, always will, right? The loan from the bank will throw the money out the front window at you, right? People that want to invest in the deal, as long as it makes financial sense. So you need a deal that makes financial sense. And what did we say makes financial sense? That. So if a deal hits that, it's not hard. Then you need a pitch deck. You need a pitch deck that helps explain what the deal is. And then you need a process. You need a process for if somebody says, yeah, I want to give you my money, you can actually take that money and put it in the bank and do that properly and legally. Okay. So that's how you raise money. Deal that makes sense, pitch deck, and a process. Now, once I said, more detail on that, but that's how it rolls. We're going to pass on the, actually, I'll break this. I'm going to break a simple deal down for you. I'm not going to get too granular with it. But let me give you this example. Let's say it's $1 million deal. So pay attention here. I'm going to break it down. Let's say it's $1 million deal, 10-unit property, and we're going to go out and we're going to raise the money and finance it. Well, you're going to get a loan from the bank from about $700,000. It's easier to get this than a $100,000 home loan. Okay? Why? Because the property is its own operating business. That's how the bank looks at it. It's not you. Now you have $300,000 left over that has to be brought in as down payment monies. Well, how does that happen? How does this get structured? Here's how it gets structured. 10% is going to come from you. If you remember, we sent this out. You can raise money. You can do this. You can own a 10 to 30 unit apartment building in the next 90 days with $15,000 to $30,000 out of pocket. Well, 10% is 30 grand. Now, you remember how I said you get paid 5 to 8 different ways? Well, way number one is going to come out right at the close of escrow. You're going to do Peter to pay Paul. So 30,000 is going in, but you're going to get a $20,000 to $30,000 check literally within a week of closing escrow. So how much money do you actually physically have out of pocket? About 10 grand, give or take. In some cases, maybe zero, but 10 grand. So 10 grand physically out of pocket, and you have control of $1 million 10-unit building for $10,000 out of pocket. And that's just way number one. That's just getting us started. But that's how a typical deal would break down. That's how a typical deal would break down. Okay? So hang in there with us, guys. Here we go. We're moving through. We're not going to do the closing tonight. We talked about that, not managing. So I want to give you a case study. This is literally a case study of me on a building to show you exactly how this would break down and the money you would make. 31-unit deal. Okay, this was in I think we did this one, acquired it in 2019. Okay, 31-unit deal in Kansas City, Missouri. For $18,000 of my own money, physically out of pocket, I had control of a 31-unit building. Okay, and watch how much money we made. We bought it for $1,525,000. We put in $400,000 in renovation dollars to it. We had closing costs of $225,000. So we were all in. The all-in cost of the deal was $2.15 million. You following me so far? Total cost. We went out and got a loan, a 70% loan. Remember, 70% loan for $1.5 million. This was easier than getting a $300,000 house loan. Then we brought in $645,000. When I say we, I'm meaning me and about 7 other investors that I talked to because I had a deal that made sense. I had a pitch deck that described it and a process to bring in the money. So I brought in about 64 grand. They brought in 581 grand. Now I got a 3% acquisition fee, which was about $45,000. Can you do that math? How much is that physically out of pocket? If I'm not mistaken, it's about that. So now I have control of a 31-unit apartment building with investors for about $18,000 physically out of pocket. Now, how much money did I make on that $18,000? So remember, we went and renovated the building. So by renovating the building, we took the value from $1,525,000 up to $3.6 million, and we did that in 24 months. So because the value increased, we were able to do a cash out refinance. Remember when I talked about cash out refinances? Tax-free money. So we paid all the investors back, we paid ourselves back, we paid everybody back. Now we're playing with house money. Now I'm also getting an asset management fee. Remember? 5 to 8 ways of making money. Asset management fee paid monthly on the income. I'm also getting 40% of the profits and 40% of the cash flow paid monthly. So I'm making $2,000 a month over 5 years. That's 120 grand. Then go to sell it, 470,000. So for $18,000 physically out of pocket, I made $590,000 on the 18 grand. And this is not an anomaly, right? The only thing that was probably an anomaly on it was the value. We got this really big kick here. Everything else is very, very standard. Happens every day of the week and twice on Sundays. Okay? This is how you do multifamily. This is why it's so beautiful when you learn it and you understand it and you're handheld to do it, right? I didn't know how to do this stuff. I had to be mentored through it. But once I got it, I got it. But that is literally the case study on that building. We held it for just recently. So yeah, you're right. About typical hold times are 3 to 5 years on that, George. Great question. Great question. So let me ask you a question. A lot of people in here said, yeah, I think I can do this. Like, I believe I can do this. And that's great. But now the real question is, do you really want to do it? Like, is this something you are passionate about? You want to do it? You want to learn it? All of that stuff? If this is something that you have more interest in and you want to actually learn it, maybe be handheld, you believe it would help you out, chime in the chat. Put in your name, your phone number, an email. You can do it privately. You don't have to do it to everybody. Put it into host and panelist. Put in your name, phone number, and email. Okay, if you're actually interested in learning more about this, okay? And the reason why I put this up is because of the community that we have. It's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. But if you do want to take that next step and leap and come off the cliff and actually, here you are in 2025 and make this, make this happen for yourself, right? What is it? What do you want to do? I mean, because you could do nothing and you'll be right back here 12 months from now, maybe back on a webinar and nothing has changed. Or we can make this happen. It's completely up to you. And trying to, what do you want to do? Are you going to watch everybody else do it? Or are you going to try and do it for yourself? I think it's really, really important for you to ask yourself that question if you're having this identity audit, because you can do this. Everybody here can actually do this. But if you have these limiting belief systems and you're holding yourself back out of fear, you got to say to yourself, I really want to do this. Do I want to make this happen for myself? Okay. So let me do this. So we have a community that we have well-trained investors around the country that are doing this, collaborating, partnering, raising capital, closing deals, making things happen. That's the entire purpose of the entire thing. Okay. To kind of show you what's included in it, but I want to give you an idea of kind of what things could look like for yourself. So here you are right now. 0 properties. Maybe you own 1 or 2, but 0 multifamily. So let's say in the next 90 days, you get your first 10 to 30 unit apartment building. You make it happen. Put it into escrow. You're like, holy crap. This is actually happening. Then you make that happen. You close on that. And from everybody that they're telling me, you're like, oh, I want more. So then maybe 90 days later, you get another 10 to 30 unit. And you're like, holy crap. Now I got 2 deals under wraps and I made this happen. And this is all in 2025. By nature, we know, because of what's happening, is once this happens, you're going to probably want to go and do a 50+ unit deal. Very likely. Very likely. And you're not going to be able to do that alone. So then what typically happens because of the community is people begin to collaborate because you need to raise money together. You need to pull deals down together. You need to find deals together. You have to analyze deals together. All that stuff happens together, collaborates, even with us. We partner with the students all the time. But you got to get to this point. But it has to, we hold hands to get to that point. You see how that works? And then everybody win-win. That's the entire concept of the entire thing. If everybody's winning, everybody's making money, everybody's happy. And that's the entire concept. But this is kind of what our community includes, right? You have weekly mentorship. It's a Zoom call. You have it with me. Okay, we handhold you every single step of the way. You're not getting some random hired coaches. You're getting me every single week in a small little setting of about 1 to 5 people, okay? You're going to get a personal success coach assigned to you. That's the accountability side, right? Because once again, motivation's great, but accountability and discipline are more important. You got to stay on it. We're going to hold your hand. You're going to join the community like we talked about, a super active community. You get lifetime access to that with all the tools, systems, Every single thing you'll ever need to go analyze, find, basically document, legal documents, the whole 9 yards, we have in the back end of the portal in your system, okay? 90-day action plan that we give you step by step, week by week of exactly how to execute the plan in your first 90 days. You get our masterclass, my masterclass. It's a 10-lesson masterclass that goes through A to Z, everything multifamily. You get our document library. This is kind of where everything lives. All the tools, the resources, the contracts, deal analyzers, everything you can imagine to buy apartments is in there. Opportunities to partner with us on deals like I just showed you. Our team assists in finding deals, analyzing the deals. Every single mentee that I know, they do the deal analyzer, they send that in the back end of the system. Our team analyzes that deal alongside you to show you, hey, are the numbers good, not good? Should you be looking at this, looking at that before you're making offers on deals? The benefits of multifamily, how you get into it, how you find deals, how do you analyze them? How would you actually raise the capital and put it together? We didn't get into the closing and management side. It's like we could probably spend 4 hours on that, but everything else and kind of breaking deals down and giving you some weeds too. I don't think a lot of people do that, but I wanted to give you that, but also inspire you. Make sure you feel comfortable that you can actually execute this, because I know you can. I know, trust me, if I can do it, you can do it. Because I didn't know this stuff. I had to learn this stuff. So this is when I didn't like wake up and have this in my brain. I had to learn this stuff.